Aloha. I wanted to do a quick video in reference to what are we doing here. I don't know what we're doing here, but I can share what I do know with every essence of my beingness in my own experience, and that's obviously only on the human physical material realm perspective, but it is in reference to what is outside of this reality into the spirit realm. So that's as close as the knowingness that I can get to, and obviously we're not going to get to understanding the entire storyline, because if you did, that would be another vibration, another frequency, another realm. But this realm has a purpose, it has a meaning, we have a meaning, and I wanted to share some of the ways we kind of lose focus from that meaning. We lose track of ourselves, we lose the inner standing and the overstanding, the inner self and the outer self. Like, so the inner space of that infinity that's on the inner space of like a meditative moment, and then we lose the perspectives of the infinity of the collective ocean, like the well of souls, the connection and connection to and the manifestation of the Most High Essence, the life force energy that is within all. We are conditioned to focus within the material realm and pass judgment on the realm as if we have that authority, when we only have so much time in our waking state, and there's only so much we can do with our fire. So you have your fire that exists in engaging in this reality, that's different than just getting enveloped in the emotional body and then passing judgment. There's a fire that exists that a mother has in providing and protecting for her child. That is a fire that is not involved. It surpasses the emotional body. It's an energy, it's a vibration that exists in the essence of the being, just as the protector spirit is an essence of the being in the divine masculine. The healing essence is excuse me, a vibration that exists in the divine feminine. We each have our own balances of those vibrations, but there is a harmonics here with the natural connections that a divine masculine energy has with a divine feminine, and the human experience having a manifestation of a female, of a male, both of which having the left and right hemispheres of the sun and the moon. So I wanted to go into real quick how, because for me, I kind of had like a kind of a little breakthrough in the flat earth kind of questioning of the reality, and I wanted to also share that, which I'll get into towards the end of the video because that's where the images are. But it also does relate to what I just mentioned, and and the overall storyline of, kind of like, what are we doing here? So before I do that, I wanted to add on to a couple of things that I think I missed in the last video, which is in relation to the design of the make-believe program. I forgot to mention I went to go see the movie Inferno on Friday, and that movie, Tom Hanks is the main actor. It's basically, it's got heavy connections to the angels and demons storyline. He wears that Mickey Mouse watch in the Inferno movie. I don't know if it's supposed to be the same guy, but he wears the same watch that he did in Angels and Demons, and the watch in Inferno is broken this time. But it's a Mickey Mouse watch, and how I saw that in the Angels and Demons story, he's talking about the Illuminati. He keeps saying that it says Illuminati in that movie like a million times. But the main thing about that is that storyline is Mickey Mouse. It's a Disney storyline. It's an illusory power that is designed to give more with your focus. You make the villains more powerful. With that energy makes the story more powerful, and you, as the so-called superhero, the collective human consciousness, and the individual expression of a manifestation of the Most High in this divine vessel, like, you just don't realize it because we've been so sucked into this reality of the illusion, where the villains are actually in charge of the movie. So the real life movie, while you get desensitized into thinking that the superhero always wins with your movies. It's a very it's complex algorithm. And one thing I did notice, which was just confirmed, I mean, I've noticed it up until this Friday, but it was just obvious when I saw that documentary about Before the Flood with Leonardo DiCaprio and all that climate change stuff. The focus of the Inferno movie, which came out on Friday, with Tom Hanks, a big actor. When they have these big actors, they want you to watch these movies. So Inferno is basically about overpopulation, which is heavily part of the climate change, the so-called climate change storyline. And the overpopulation only exists illusorily in the illusion because of the way the system is designed to keep people packed into these pockets of destruction, these broken societies, in order to control the individual psyche and the collective storyline. Because if you have them together, packed in, just like kids in a classroom, you have them locked into training themselves and fighting themselves, and you have control of the community, as opposed to individuals who are spread out but still part of a community, still part of a culture. There's a difference between being forced to live in a city and being able to live wherever you like, but being a part of a community because you choose to do it. There's a difference there. We have very little to no choice in the enslavement program because of the way it's designed. This is why freedom has to be preached in every moment of your reality. The American dream, the fiat currency, you can make it, that whole idea. It's a whole mentality. And these athletes, these artists, these musicians, these people, these celebrities, these so-called demigods they get put in your face to make that so-called reality more realistic for you, and so you can strive to be successful within the illusion, just like these empty vessels that these people are. So you strive to be like somebody who's empty. So this is why there's so much focus on titties and ass, and in your music videos, in your just dumbing down the divine feminine essence, and inherently dumbing down the divine masculine essence, because it adjusts the focus, and it also adjusts the relationship between the masculine and the feminine, which is another part of the divide and conquer that I didn't completely go into in the last video, but it's part of the divide and conquer. See, race is just like checkers on a checkerboard that sits on top of a three-tiered chessboard, and on each tier, on the body, the mind, and the soul, is a chess game. So your body is getting shut down by chess moves with the food, with the water, with your psyche's relationship to the body, your mind controlled in every single essence, so every single layer of your relationship to intellect or logic is completely manipulated by, especially obviously with the globe model. Then you got the Mandela effect coming, then CERN comes in there. These are all chess pieces on the board being moved around, and every thought that you have that exists within the limitation grid will be blocked by the system if you aren't sitting in your power and looking at the entire all the levels of the chess game to see how how the moves are being made. And when you go up to the soul level, that's when you get into your relationship to spirit. Then you have to discern between the new age agenda, the alien agenda, the religious agenda, the new religion, the old religions, the scientism community, the globe model, your connection with nature. That's all existing on like the soul level. It exists on the mind and the body level too, but mostly on the soul level. That's where those chess moves are being made to keep you in a disempowered state of being. So when we get caught up in the race program and trying to only talk about race and all that other shit, you're on like the checkerboard. You're not even in the three-tiered chessboard game yet. You're on the checkerboard that's sitting on top. It's like the commercial version, the waiting room of the chess game, the three-dimensional chess game that we exist in and as at the same time. And the illusion keeps you from playing that chess game by keeping you disempowered, by keeping you desensitized, by keeping you in your emotional body, by keeping you locked into these artificial grids and in the defense mechanism mode instead of the creative mode. So you're in the destructive intelligence mode, fighting against one another, rather than in the creative mode, which is working with people against the system that is still manipulating people to be existing in that checker game. So part of the breakthrough that I was seeing, how it boils down to is the masculine and the feminine. This is part of the Divide and Conquer program. At its essence, really, that's like the first layer of Divide and Conquer that I'm seeing in reference to our human story, and I'll get into that in a second. But I want to close this out real quick as far as what I missed. That Inferno movie, being based upon overpopulation, is not a coincidence that was released on Friday with Tom Hanks, and on Saturday that documentary with Leonardo DiCaprio about Before the Flood, about climate change, was released on National Geographic and on the YouTube trending page. So this is how detailed, complex these algorithms are, and we don't even know it. We just think we're being entertained. No, when you have one group of people who is watching this movie on one level, and then you have another group of people watching the documentary, they're all contributing energy to the same connective field that we all exist in and as. And on an individual level, you can see that an individual who watches both on Friday the Inferno movie, which is designed to scare the shit out of you in reference to overpopulation and all this terror and all this other shit, And then never mention the fact that the system, the societal system, is designed to be that way on purpose for control. So that's to keep you in the checker game. So that individual is just scared shitless when they leave there, thinking that the good guy did it, like we saved the day. But you leave that movie theater subconsciously scared shitless. You shit your fucking pants because you have no understanding of, no control, no power, no fire to engage in that reality that was just installed in your consciousness, in your subconscious. So you're just kind of like floating in this limbo space of, well, I hope the government takes care of that. I know they're America's number one. They're going to take care of all that shit. That whole mentality, it makes the system more powerful. So that exists. And then you have the so-called intellectual real world perspective released the next day on the trending page of YouTube for free to everybody, with Leonardo DiCaprio, who just won a damn Oscar this year, coincidentally, who before that was he was, what is the word? I can't think of the word. It's not entitled. He was given the position of a messenger of peace in recognition, or in reference to the United Nations. So the documentary is basically just goes around the world talking to like presidents in different countries about how fucked up climate change is and whatever, what happened, which, like I said, is just really just a way to make celebrities, it's the merging of Hollywood and the politics to make politics more realistic, because you actually believe these Hollywood actors more than you would believe any of these politics. So it makes you believe the politics more, and it also makes you believe the celebrities more, which is the new version of belief system that's coming out as we go. Just like I said, Alex Jones makes Trump more credible, and Trump makes Alex Jones more credible to different groups of people who are in different perspectives. One who's more focused on the mainstream agenda stuff, and then one who's more focused on the conspiracy theory stuff. They feed each other, so you make the whole system more powerful. So this is how movies engage with stuff like National Geographic and the mainstream media and politics. It's all one big ass story. That was my main thing that I wanted to reference there. And what comes out of that story is a subconscious villain. And you get this subconscious villain installed in your relationship to yourself and your reality. It gets bigger as the story goes along, and that bigness actually separates you from your fire, from your relationships, triggers the emotional body, expands the illusion, and expands the power of the so-called powers that be. And it really just completely cuts the legs out of the individual and the collective. And then you install that, if you have kids, you install that energy into your children without you even knowing it. So your kids see how you react. They listen to your conversations. They might not know, but they're downloading that energy in this reality without language that you can speak with your word, with your voice, but with just being in your bubble. And this is how the control grid works in that reference. So that's pretty much what I wanted to get into on that. The next reference from what I forgot from the last video. The next space I wanted to get into is this idea of kind of like, what are we doing here? And as the human, like waking up in the morning. Like, why? Like, what are you doing here? If things are so fucked up, like, what are you doing here? And when I was thinking about that, because people have that, highly sensitive people who are very in tune with their reality are looking for answers. We're looking for like the essence of our roots. which is why, or roots period, like before you find the essence of the roots, like what they're connected to, you have to realize that they exist. So this is why I share a lot in a lot of these videos, connecting to understanding like what your body is, like, so beyond the race and including race, but more into the balances of the diversity within the human storyline, understanding where you fit in that story, who you are, what what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, who your ancestors are, that whole storyline in reference to understanding the physical reality as a whole. That's a way that you can get connected to your roots, to realize that they exist, and then you can start to go into understanding what they're connected to, what they mean, and then start to build into that tree, into the branches, into the leaves and the fruits, and so on and so forth, and that in the tree of life, the higher chess game, the higher understanding, and overstanding of the reality. It just goes on and on and on. But first we have to go into the root structure, which is what the system is designed to keep you away from. It creates this artificial root system, which is the university system, the globe model, the gravity theory, the evolution theory, the Big Bang theory, all these theories that get put in front of you by these demigods. They claim as demigods like Copernicus and Einstein and Neil deGrasse Tyson, and all these weak ass demons like Bill Maher, and all the other people who just play the game, Bill Nye, Michio Kaku, these other individuals who just kind of bully you into that mentality. They're part of that illusion because their entire being is based upon the illusion, who they think they are, because there's like layers of who you think you are. If you think there's like a plastic version of who you think you are, then there's like the transition version of who you think you are in relationship to the soul essence, which the plastic version is completely separated from, not completely, but to the umpteenth degree separated from, because they have considered this reality the end all be all, and they've completely downloaded the science and so-called science, the scientism, the so-called logic and so-called intellect of this at best half-assed version of reality, the scientism community, which is not true science. It's half-assed science, because science is only science if you have the balance of understanding the spirit, which is those two together as alchemy. So if you don't understand the relationship between science and spirit, then you don't understand science, true science, and you really don't have a relationship with spirit, which is a lack of understanding of the alchemy of our relationship to this experience as a whole. So this scientism community is based upon a big ass lie, a big ass illusion, a bag of chips that just like Doritos, that just makes you eat more. It has chemicals in it to make you eat more. That's a real thing, and you just get fat, and you just get sick, and your life is just gonna continue to tank because it's full of shit. So the scientific community is full of shit. Anyway, to focus here, the idea of this program is to beat down the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And inherently, when you beat down one of the other, you're beating down the entire relationship, which is beating down both of them. When you're separating people from alchemy, from their spirit, which is the design of the university system, the public education system separates you from your kids, from your culture, and installs a new program. That is the baseline essence of that program. That is the intention there. Anything beyond that is bullshit. And people say, oh, well, it's good. Who's going to build the roads? All that fucking mentality is just garbage. The intention there is to install the idea of your so-called forefathers, that mentality, and your Queen of England. This is Rome, the extension of Rome, to keep you dumb. And one of the main things is to focus on the physical reality. This is why there's so much focus on titties and ass, and this whole just this lower body energy. Literally, when a man is only attracted to a woman because she has a nice ass, that is taking away from, there's no character there. There's no essence of the being. It's just the area where it's an invention. Like, it's a natural attraction involving the reproductive relationship, but that is the lowest common denominator of relationships. This is why things are the way they are, why the Barbie program was emphasized and expanded upon back in the day. It just keeps going on. It builds on top of itself. This is the essence of the sexualization of your movies, your cartoons for your kids, your TV shows, having your teenagers watch these shows that are just about getting married, having relationships, and the physical reality. That whole storyline exists in order to keep people in that space. Period. That's the intent of that story. And you're worshiping the lowest common denominator. Literally, the root, the plastic version, which is actually happening today. Plastic asses, Kim Kardashian, these fake asses, just like fake breasts. This is how fake this reality is. It's truly plastic. We are getting into this mentality, and this can only happen if at first it manifests within the mind. In order for it to go into the body, it has to first manifest in the mind. So when you have been dumbed down from your connection to spirit, your connection to your community, your culture, your family, your fire, your balances of all the chakras, instead of being manipulated into a plastic version of the root chakra, a plastic version, a backwards and upside down version, plastic version of the sacral chakra, just totally sexualizing, and at the same time effeminizing the masculine. This is why you have these celebrities and black men in dresses in movies, is to effeminize the man and plasticize the feminine energy. So that's the divide and conquer program there. You got the spirit lockdown with religion and the fiat currency relationship within religion. So that amplifies, just like the Hollywood scene and the movies amplifies the documentaries and the politics. The fiat currency amplifies the religious program, as well as the religious program amplifying and adding credibility to the fiat currency system. So you think that you need the fiat currency system because the Lord says you got to put that money in that basket. If you don't do it, He's gonna smite thee. Like, it's sold to a large majority of the population on a regular basis that the fiat currency system is a part. It's like the left hand of God, in a sense, when you're totally enveloped in the religious world. And then obviously you got Hollywood with these empty celebrities, no character. This is why they don't have interviews. People who worship, like people like Beyonce and Oprah and all these other, Rihanna and all these people. This is why they don't do interviews. They don't do interviews because if you were to understand, you have a real fucking conversation with these people, you wouldn't worship them anymore because they're fucking empty. They have no soul essence. So you only have to know them for their body. You only have to know Beyonce for her ass and the way she shakes her ass at the Super Bowl and those rituals that they do use her for. You only have to know Rihanna for her ass and all that shit that and all the music videos and her performances. That's the essence. It's a shallow version of a relationship to your experience, and these are your superheroes. These are your superheroes you believe in. President Obama, this fake ass person, the first so-called first black president. That's what got him elected, period. And it has nothing to do with his character. People still believe in, oh well, he's just a part of a system that's broken. He couldn't really do anything. You don't know Barack Obama. You don't know that motherfucker. You don't know what he knows and what he doesn't know and what he's doing in here and there. Like, just as much as I don't know, what I do know is that if you're in that system and you're up that high, you're fucking in the know of some stuff that is very a part of the enslavement of the entire earth plane. That is the intention of the so-called first black president, just like they're going with the first woman president right now. It's the same mentality, keeping you on this shallow layer of relating to yourself, your people, your family, your kids, your intellect, your spirit. Everything is on this basic layer. And however you fit, however you've been trained by your family and the generations before you, will dictate what it is that the next generation will produce. Now, in reference to the what am I doing here essence, I wanted to expand upon the fact that things are changing. It's obvious. And another part of that what are we doing here thing is you have to see how deep this programming has gone and how much has changed so far. And also realize the relationship that the human experience has to time and how long things need to take before they manifest into the physical reality. Before it goes into the mind, it has to manifest in the soul. Before it manifests into the body, it has to manifest into the mind. And that takes time when you're talking about this dense ass version of reality we're experiencing as the physical reality. So when you have these spells, literally magic spells that have been cast on the entire collective for generations, it's going to take some time. And being the first, second, or third waves of however you want to see whatever this shift is doing, you're seeing it from your perspective, and it's a linear perspective. And when you see that shift, no matter how far out you look or how far back you look, you're still projecting yourself into the future or into the past, instead of realizing that it is happening. Whatever it is, something is happening. Like this from Jason and the Argonauts. These are the gods. The gods, that's Zeus and Hera and Thoth and that. Like this whole, that's supposed to be the gods, and Jason down there who they're looking at on the chessboard, the Roman chessboard. This is how far this programming, the supremacy program, the eugenics program, the genocide, the massacres, the every single program that's designed to enslave, that added up to the genocide of the indigenous people, the massacres all over Native America and everywhere else. There is a definite focus there. That is a big piece on every chessboard that you cannot look away from. People who are still saying, oh, race is just this simple thing. No, please look into Dr. Francis Cress Welsing and the reality of white genetic annihilation. That is a part of the chessboard. I'm not saying it's the complete chessboard. Yes, there's the stories beyond the spirit, or into the spirit, the spiritual connections. But that story is very related to all the other big time stories that are going when you understand that white supremacy exists, the white privilege program exists, you have the majority of black and brown peoples in your prison industrial complex, you got the majority of black and brown peoples being destroyed by the military industrial complex, the colonial program. That storyline exists. My question is not to focus on like an emotional grid or a victimization or impose guilt on a particular group of people. What I'm saying is that it exists. My question is why? Why does it exist? Instead of just defending it because of the guilt that exists there. Oh, we're all the same, black and brown people are in jail, but other people are being in jail too. Like, yes, I understand that. I understand that. My question is, why is there a focus of millions and millions of people of a particular shade of humanity, for lack of a better perspective, and another shade of reality actually has a privilege and actually has a supremacy, like I mentioned in a few videos back, that sort of entitlement that old couple had when they came to the bar, and then I'm like sitting next to them, and they just have this sense of entitlement to where they knew this bartender, and they still treated her like shit in a subtle sort of way, and they treat other people like shit because of how entitled they are. And I'm like, where the fuck did they get that entitlement from? And largely it comes from the monetary system and that whole reality. But the other half of that is the privilege mentality. It was like the definition of white privilege. And it was just leaking out of their pores because it was who they are. That was who they are. And every single it goes down, like from the Queen of England and Great Britain, the King of Beers, Budweiser, that whole mentality, it leaks down from the conscious reality. That's in their conscious reality. And they might not be conscious of it, but it's manifesting in how somebody else's conscious reality can observe that's how they might not be aware of it, but that's how far their subconscious programming has manifested into their conscious reality, and they don't even fucking realize it. And maybe they do, because some people do, and they're just proud of it. They get to that point and then they just say, oh, well, the gods are actually they all look like this, and I'm actually like that, so, and Rome runs the world. So fuck it, suck it, not white people. You're just going to have to deal with it. And we're in control. We're in power. So everybody else can just fuck off. Like, that exists when you have the injustices that are being denied or that are being expanded upon, when you see things like what's happening at Standing Rock, when you see things that's led up to the Queen of England, all the theft, the broken noses in ancient Kemet, and all this, the genocides and the massacres and the defending of the program itself. It's like that documentary and these movies are designed to make you not look at a certain thing. Like in the movie the other Tom Hanks movie, God, I can't remember, a brain fart right now. A League of Their Own, where that whole movie is supposed to be based on when the men went to fight the war, and in order to keep the fellas and everybody else in America chugging along, as keep them entertained, the women had to play a professional baseball league. So Tom Hanks was one of the coaches in there, and it really doesn't matter in this storyline, but they have one clip in there where this one lady, a ball gets loose, and a black lady picks up the ball and throws a fucking dart all the way to home plate from like the stands, pretty much. And they all look at her like, and it's this soft sort of like, oh, like they can't play in this league because they're black. And then that's that whole mentality. But when you really think about it, that whole damn movie, A League of Their Own, wouldn't fucking exist the way it does at all if you had black people who were allowed, black women, to play in that league. But you go back into the movie and you realize, like, oh, Kit and her big sister, that whole storyline, and Tom Hanks, he's such a good actor, and like all that emotion, all that shit, it wouldn't even exist if the reality that is today was understood, kind of understood today, was understood back then. It would be a completely different movie. In fact, you can make an entire movie on that one lady and her friends who are black women who weren't allowed to play baseball back then. This goes into like the Babe Ruth being the king of baseball when like Satchel Paige wasn't even allowed to play in the big leagues. Like, you didn't have black people playing in the big leagues, so they just make kings of themselves. And in an illusion, knowing that the world will be completely different. So this is how the illusion maintains its credibility, by keeping you locked into one version of the story. Like, A League of Their Own is one version of the story. When if you had all the pieces, the understandings of all the pieces on the board, you'd realize that, oh, this is really fucked up. And actually, there's an intention there. So anyway, so just as much as we are programmed to look at one version of reality with the documentaries, with the History Channel, Discovery Channel, National Geographic, the mainstream media, alternative news, so-called conspiracy theorists, so-called conscious communities, the Oprahs, the Leonardo DiCaprios, the Hermione Granger, I can't fucking remember her name, going to the United Nations. That whole mentality is the plastic version of reality that is maintaining the checker game in your subconscious programming to keep you from engaging in the three-dimensional chessboard of your conscious reality. And this is the intent that we are anchoring here, the people who are so-called in the awakening space or getting out of those illusions. You anchor that space in your higher self without even trying, just by being here. This is how I perceive my reality when I wake up in the morning every day, is knowing that I can't save the world or change the world. It doesn't need saving. It doesn't need changing. It's already doing it on its own. We are part of that doing this just by choosing to be in this reality. You chose to be born here. When you so-called die, you will choose to leave here, and that is all so-called decided upon with the relationship that your soul has, not the you in the body you, because that's the you in the body, the you in the mouth that says, oh, what are we doing here? Like, what? I don't want to be here. Why don't the aliens come and take me away? If you're in that space, that's your mouth speaking. That's your mouth speaking from your body. But your soul already has a relationship with the Most High. Just like, okay, so your relationship that you have with your higher self, your next space spirit essence, is the same relationship that the Most High has with the angels. So the step down from the Most High into the angel space is the same relationship that you as the physical experience has with the step up to your higher self. That step up is one step closer to the Most High and the angels, just like that step down from the Most High into the angels is one step closer to your higher self and you. You have a relationship there. Those vibrations are way more intense than anything that this physical body antenna can anchor in conscious reality and understand on any kind of level. So if that lack of understanding in that vibration, which is not meant to be understood, is interpreted into the emotional body, it will manifest into this, what, I don't want to be here, why don't the aliens come and take me away? It's because there's further there's deeper anchor points that you could go into your soul essence, and the realization of this storyline, that it's a lot more difficult because of how fucked up everything is. It's like when you're already sensitive and then having to challenge yourself to be more sensitive, to not be as sensitive. That's how far it's like this. It's another layer of sensitivity that actually taps into your fire essence of connection to the higher planes, to the most high spirit, to your higher essence. When you get to the mouth fire, that's what that is. The mouth fire, it's not a plastic fire, it's like a body fire. There's a body fire and then there's a spirit fire. The body fire that interprets its reality based upon the alien agenda, and like, aliens come and take me away, or I'm so sensitive, I'm such an empath, I'm doing such great work that I don't want to be here anymore. That's your mouth speaking that, when your actual spirit has already decided that you need to fucking be here. You got some shit you got to do. So that's why you're here doing what it is that you're doing. And every single morning that you appear to be waking up into this reality, there is a purpose, there is a meaning that exists first on the soul level, then into the mind, then into the body. When it doesn't need to be here anymore, that transition will happen naturally on the soul natural space, then into the mind natural space, and then into the body natural space. But first, we have to get out of the mind control, which manifests into a body control, which is the focus of titties and ass, and this backwards upside down version of the feminine and the masculine, and the total, that whole shit, which is why people say, I don't want to be here, I'm vibrating at a higher frequency and I should be somewhere else doing something else. What? The grass is always greener on the other side, just like the stars are always brighter in the other galaxy, in the other universe. It's the same shit. If the you that the soul you is, needed you to be somewhere else, if you did the work that you need to be doing, you'd be gone. You'd be somewhere else. You'd had already made that transition. But the you that continues to wake up every morning has a fucking purpose, has a meaning here that is most likely not for you to understand. Because if you understood it and you're at that sensitive space, then that's actually that bridge of vibration that's way too fucking intense to be anchoring in your conscious reality. So just like your dreams, like when you're going into a dream, you just appear into a dream. You pop into a dream and then you have to experience that dream. Like I had a dream the other day where, which dream should I use? Because it's all of them. Okay, so when you go into a dream, and if people who can remember their dreams, you have sometimes you have like a purpose, like you got to do something. There's something that you have to do. Where did that come from? Where did that challenge come from? What is that story like? What does that mean that you have to do in that dream? How did you get there? Like, what are you doing? What are you learning? What energies are you messing with when you do that? So just as you can understand that you're not really, you're really just supposed to experience that dream. You just got some shit you got to do in that dream, and then you just do it. And then like if you become lucid, and then you do something else. But when you're in that dream, you have a purpose, and you don't necessarily know how you got there, why you have to do what you got to do, but you know you got to do it. There's no difference between that reality, that relationship in that world, and the physical reality here. It's the same shit. This is just one version of having an experience. And you're not necessarily going to understand or know the before and the after. You are in that space. This is the physical reality of the relationship to time. You just got some shit you got to do. And before you can even know what it is that you got to do, you have to first stop doing what it is that you don't need to be doing, like the stuff that works counter to your reality, against you. And that's part of the learning process. And then you start to move into the higher vibrations. And then once you get into such a higher vibration of intensities that goes back and forth between the next spaces, then that's when the people kind of have these like, I don't want to be here anymore kind of spaces. And then it manifests into stuff like the new age agenda and like the aliens come and save us, come and take us away in your super high polished spaceships. Then one of those spaceships come down here, I'm gonna commandeer that shit. Like, it's gonna be because that is not, it's more complex than that. Aliens and the storylines that get projected to you in the movie, like The Arrival or whatever, or Arrival, and on 11/11, and The Arrival too. There's a The Arrival with Charlie Sheen that came out. That's another movie that you should check out. Somebody asked me about movies back in a little while ago. I didn't really go into it because it's really individualistic. It's like whatever you want to watch, and everything that you watch has something that you can get out of it. I wouldn't really like want to promote any movies, because it's pretty much every movie you can learn something, and it's all connected. They're all the movies are one movie, all the movies and the shows are one show. It's all one big storyline. So back to the magic as a whole. This, like the Merkaba being flipped upside down and backwards by the Zionist community and the control of the mainstream media and the Hollywood, they are very aware of your relationship to the spirit and the mind control. This is why this magic is used, and it's put in your face, and you can't do anything about it because you don't know anything about it. So you just demonize yourself when you don't understand the depths of the magic and your fire. So, and that lack of understanding will go all the way to manifesting into this reality as sickness and disease on an individual and a collective scale. But you can see that the sun and the moon, the feminine and the masculine energy, the magnetic and electric energy, is a part of this magic, and that's part of what I wanted to share here in a second. Because once we get dumbed down into this like man-child perspective, you're really locking into the plastic world. So it's tying in. That's the intent. The opposite, or the plastic version of this, is to turn you into a man-child, a plastic man-child, or a woman-child, whatever it is. And when you get into engaging in the realities that challenge the very nature of the system itself, the pillars of the system, these demigods will start to step out into the reality and start to engage with you. This is why Neil deGrasse Tyson started to engage into the system when Flat Earth started to be spoken on with B.O.B. and that whole relationship there. And since the New Age agenda is so deep into people who are in the so-called conscious community, that's a vibration that gets manipulated by the system itself on purpose. They tap into those sensitivities and utilize it for the expansion of the system itself. This is the intention of the New Age agenda as a whole. And it's utilized like taking the limitations of the Black Lives Matter, that victimization program that's not at all stepping in your power. It's stepping into a victim program and saying, well, we matter. You guys have to give us credibility. That's a different perspective than coming into your fire and understanding that you are the manifestation of that fire essence from the Most High Spirit. There's a difference there that exists. The Black Lives Matter and all that, and that fight with the All Lives Matter and that whole thing being activated in the plastic world exists within inside the box, which is exactly where these these magicians want to keep you. And then the individuals like Neil deGrasse Tyson with his smug ass, entitled, illusory asshole mentality, is always anchoring the space of like pretty much all lives are matter. We're all one. So he has a scientism foundation to the all lives matter perspective. It's like we're all one, which is what the New Age, New World agenda wants to promote with their new religion. It's like we're all star stuff coming from the Big Bang. We all are products of monkeys, and we made it to create smartphones and a motorcycle that doesn't fall over. It can stand up straight. So we did it. Good job, humanity. That's like it's the saved by the veil, saved by the I actually said veil. Yeah, that's actually what it is. Saved by the veil, or saved by the Baal version of reality, which is plastic, it's fake, it's destructive. They're making themselves out to be superheroes because the system is so fucked up. And in order to make a villain a superhero, you have to destroy the system itself so bad. You have to take it so far down that it makes the system, anything that happens in some kind of positive space, it'll make those villains look like superheroes. So this is why every single relationship that you have to this experience is so jacked up, which is why it's so important that the people who are sensitive, who are working on their relationship to spirit and understanding their relationship to nature, focus their energy really on understanding that you have a meaning and a purpose here that might not be understood completely, that is actually more active in the understanding that by you choosing to wake up in the morning every day here is enough. At its essence, it's not enough to where that's all that you do, but at its essence, it's enough that you do that because of the intense density and separation that this experience is based upon. So it's not only about just being here and just anchoring those energies. No, you have to stoke that fire. You can't just let those embers just be and just, no, you have to make that fire be more if you want to understand more. Otherwise, you'll fall subject to the density of the program and your fire will get dampened out. And that's what these Neil deGrasse Tyson's peoples are about. To water down your frequency, to water down your reality with the globe model, the transhumanism program, and so forth. All lives are matter. You fucking asshole. Yeah, constantly being installed with these sickness and diseases. This is not new. There's an intention here. Like I said earlier in the video, if you're still having issues with me even mentioning race or white supremacy or white privilege or any of that stuff, and you still have a problem with that existing, or me saying that, you think it doesn't exist, look into Dr. Francis Cress Welsing and the existence of white genetic annihilation and make that connection to the genocide and the massacres that have appeared through the colonial program across the earth plane for centuries, and realize that there is a reason for this storyline, how it exists the way it exists. There's a reason, and I don't completely know what it is. I don't understand, but I can see that it exists. And if you're having difficulty seeing that it exists, it's only because you really just haven't looked at all the information that's available. And I'm not saying it just to say it. When I share this information, it's not to impose guilt or anything like that. When you see it from a certain perspective, people take it like that. It's like, oh, when I share information, it's not to share, like to impose guilt on anybody. It's really to share information to open up the door of understanding that will lead to an understanding and overstanding. So when I like for example, when I look into information and I get an understanding of something, then that opens up the door to all these other perspectives that exist that I didn't realize existed inside and outside of me, that are adding to the bigger storyline, that helps me let go of energies and also helps me understand energies on a deeper level. And that's where the understanding and the overstanding comes from. And when I start to do that, then it actually makes the storyline deeper. Like you become more connected. And I don't know if I said this leading up to that point or not, but it's kind of like the more sensitive, the stronger you become in understanding of the storyline as a whole, the more sensitive you are. And when you get to a certain level of sensitivity in that one vibration of understanding your reality, then the only way is to continue going into that space of sensitivity, and you will sense yourself. You will grow your senses into a higher vibration of sensitivity, because now you are more anchored in the spiritual sensitivity, which is a higher fire that will allow you to interpret this reality on a deeper level. So when we get into that space of I don't want to be here and the aliens come take me away, that's because you're in that version of sensitivity that's still heavily anchored in the physical reality, that hasn't yet transitioned into the fire essence of the spirit completely. Because if you were in that essence of realizing that reality, then you would understand that your purpose and meaning is not necessarily meant for you to be understood. And in fact, it would be difficult as shit. And I don't know if I mentioned the dreams or not, but I'll mention it real quickly. It's like being in a dream. You don't know how you got into that dream. You don't know what you're doing. If you had a dream before and you know that you have to do something, then where did that come from? What is that doing? And then why does that matter? Why does that dream matter the way it is? It's the same way in your waking space. So like when I share, there's an intention there that you're not necessarily supposed to be understanding, and the more you understand of all these other stories around that are within your grips or some kind of understanding, then it'll make it easier to understand in the future. Yeah, so when I share information and people are still anchored in that space of how they anchor the energy, then it'll be digested with like a flavor of guilt, or a flavor of like something's wrong or with me or something like that. Like, no, I'm just sharing information because I know how understanding information for myself helps me interpret and make a closer connection with myself, all the people, the nature, the relationship, the experience as a whole. And then when we do that, then it makes ourselves deeper, which is the shockwave to the entire collective. So looking into the understanding of the reality of why things are the way they are, or at least opening the door to why things are the way they are, is not just for us on an observation perspective, but it exists on the spiritual level, and it will help. Like in order to become you're not becoming less sensitive, actually, to be able to handle that sensitivity, you have to become more sensitive. So in order to be more able to handle those sensitive, you have to become, until you sense yourself into that next vibration, that next fire, and then your senses will adjust to that reality. So since it's like difficult to realize, like, or at least question why there's a race-based genocide going on and has been going on for so long, why that exists, it's a challenge to people who are in that oneness reality of everything's all love and light. We're all one humanity. Everything is just about, all lives are matter. This is that plastic version of reality. Like, no. If you stay in there, it will hurt, because you are keeping yourself from expansion. You are keeping yourself from an understanding that is very connected to your understandings and overstandings of the reality as a whole. And it will manifest as pain a lot of the times. So in order to keep this plastic version, that fake, that pain, that emotional body reality, the storyline has to be focused on these shallow verses. So just like climate change is a big focus, and overpopulation, everything that maintains the system itself to be the superhero in this villain program, in the destructive intelligence program. They have to jack everything up in order to make the villain a superhero. So if things are so bad, all a villain has to do, like the Joker in Batman Part 1, like providing, whatever for that group of people, when the system itself is so jacked up, they don't have to do much. They just have to maintain the focus on how bad everything is and how good the things that they're doing are. So this is why there's so much focus on going to Mars and addressing climate change and overpopulation and saving the day, and no focus on the colonial program that's happening, that's manifested in Standing Rock, which is the same shit that happened at Wounded Knee, that goes down to the very basic elements of our reality, talking about water and land and the people. The system will never look at that stuff, because it makes them, the system, the villain, the so-called they, the so-called powers that be, and that's actually how it is. So that the storyline, this is why Obama won't talk about this stuff. They won't go into dialogues with the Native Americans, because this program is designed to maintain the illusion. And the illusion is the globe model. The illusion is the power of the university system. The illusion of going to Mars. The illusion of the climate change. The illusion of overpopulation. So all those illusions have to be maintained in order to keep you from looking at the boots on the ground storyline that makes the colonial program the villain. And in reference to climate change, or people who are still in that scene, I'm not saying that the system isn't changed. That's a part of the destructive intelligence. I'm very aware that the fossil fuel industry is fucking up the harmonics of the biosphere, or the bio relationship that we have going on. I know that. I'm not saying it doesn't exist in some kind of way. What I'm saying is that the intention is bigger. The intention of the entire storyline is bigger than just that. It's in order to maintain control and power for the systems, the so-called powers that be, not to change things for the better. It's installed to make more power for the so-called powers that be, and maintain them as the superheroes, and not to realize that the system itself is the actual villain. So the one thing that I didn't want to leave out in this video is the how I was seeing the divide and conquer program manifesting into this reality is the separation between the divine masculine and the divine feminine, being that the so-called North Pole is a magnetic energy. That's an understanding that we have. It's a magnetic energy. And what I was thinking was, if you live close to that magnetic energy, then that will manifest into your beingness. So Russia, Canada, Asia, Europe, Greenland, all the people who are around there have a heavy magnetic energy. And Yeah, there's something to that, and the relationship that the magnetic people, energetically speaking, have to the electric people, or the so-called people of the sun, who are existing around the equator. If you have a magnetic energy, which is the feminine negative energy, not in a bad way, just negative, you have to have the positive electric masculine energy, which is the sun. And the people of the sun, which exist on the outsides of on the equator and the outsides of the equator. So I was seeing this now, so-called breakthrough that I had. It's just an idea. Is the connection that the earth plane, physics of the earth plane has with the people, and how that is being manipulated by the so-called powers that be, without our really knowing it, and what that really means. So you have the heavily melanated people who exist in South America, in Africa, in the lower parts of Eurasia, in the Australian Aboriginal people. Australia was black before it became British. The Polynesian people are black or brown and not, yeah. So what I'm saying is that there's something here to this storyline in relationship to the people. The magnetic and electric energies are being put against each other, and it has to do something with, being close to that pole and being close to the electric pole of the equator, or energies of the equator, and the people there. And yeah, so, and another thing that I related that to, as far as the masculine electric energy of the equator and the sun, and the people of the sun, the melanated people being along the equator, is the heavy phallic symbolism that's in like Peru and in Africa, and that whole relationship to the feminine energy, the magnetic energy. So you have the magnetic energy, the feminine energy in the center of the center of this makeup, and then you have the masculine energy on the outside. It was just something I was thinking about in relation to the obvious, starting with the obviousness of the magnetic energy, knowing that that will manifest into the peoples that are very close to that energy, and then understanding that there is a balance, and that balance will be the electric, which is the melanated electric peoples of the sun in South America, Africa, Lower Eurasia, and into Australia and the Polynesian islands. So people who do flat earth models, and if this catches your interest in any kind of way, I just wanted to share that and throw that out there as something that I was realizing that exists in some kind of way. So that was basically it. So thank you for joining me, and until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.